BMitch and Finlay, 1067, The Fan. Right now, time to us to go to the Rude Guest Hotline. Rude makes the most reliable HVAC equipment in the DMV, and talk to our friend Mr. Ben Standig from the Standig Room Only Substack. What's up, Benny? How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm getting a little FOMO here talking to you guys overseas, but otherwise I'm doing well.
Yeah, dude, it's cool here. Like, the experience is cool, but it's a ton of work, dude. You would know it.
It's fun, though, Ben. Don't let JP fool you.
Tonight, I'm looking forward to relaxing a bit. Yesterday was a zoo, and it's been all work today. Not all of us got to go to a chocolateria today.
Hey, man. Had a little fun.
Benny, our AAA poll question of the day is an interesting one. 7 games left for Washington. How many of those 7 will they win? The AAA poll question of the day is brought to you by AAA. Level up with the new AAA Commanders MVP membership. Get all the benefits of AAA, plus exclusive experiences, discounts, and tickets. If you're already a AAA member, upgrade for free or join today at AAA.com/Commanders. Mm-hmm. They got 7 games left. Benny, how do you think this goes?
Well, just thinking of this off the top of my head here, I mean, it's amazing that I don't think they're going to win this week, which is crazy considering how we've just been sort of chalking up the Dolphins game as a victory. But right now, with the way the Washington defense is going, I don't know. After the bye week, they've got the last 4 games are against division opponents. We know how those things kind of you throw out the record. So, I don't know. Give me 2 and 5 the rest of the way. That doesn't sound great, but considering they're currently 0 for the last 5, maybe that doesn't sound so bad.
So I said 2 or 3, which sounds right to me. And honestly, say you go 3 and 4 over the last 7, you could kind of spin that as a positive. But damn, if that is what happens, you're talking about a 6-11 season. How did we get here, dude?
Well, look, I mean, there's obviously football reasons. I think you can't. It's undeniable though that the injuries have been just a huge factor. Now, the injuries exposed their limited depth in certain spots, right? When you lose Terry McLaurin, they just don't have another outside receiver that could replace that. When you lose Dorrance Armstrong, your sack leader, you don't have somebody else who can fill in at the pass rush level. And then, of course, obviously the quarterback, Jaden Daniels. I mean, Marcus Mariota has done a fine job, but you're just the ceiling is lower when it's not Daniels. And then that's just like the tip of the iceberg with the injuries, as we know. So that's been a huge part of it. But again, I think it's just exposed the lack of depth, and on defense in particular, that's been highly problematic. I think the offense, for the most part, has been able to get by and at least be competitive despite the injuries, but the defense obviously just a complete disaster, and it's only gotten worse as the injuries have piled up here.
Looking at the injuries, and I understand, no one wants to ever just use that excuse that the injuries caused the problem. I don't think the media wants to do it. I don't think fans look at it. I don't think the team does. But when you really look at it, the injuries are the problem. And then the next people that come out and say, well, this team had injuries, that team had injuries. But if that team has been building 5, 6, 7 years, they can withstand those injuries a little better because now they've had guys that might have been in their system 3 years, 2 years, 4 years that can play better than the guys that were in your system 1 year. They had, 30-plus new players last year and then 30-plus new players this year? That's not very much chemistry going on. And I think that we overlooked the possibilities of what could have gone wrong last year if we hadn't won those games at the last second. And then when you come into this year, I just think that everything went against you. And, hell, what we could have seen last year, we see this year.
Yeah, I remember last year, the last sort of few weeks of the season when they kept winning games at the last, on the last play, or it wasn't decided until the last play. I kept asking myself, my podcast audience, my cat, anybody who would listen, are we sure this team is good? Like, I could, they kept winning these games. You're just like, how is this happening here? But then they go out into the playoffs and pull off 2 huge road wins, including, the big shocker in Detroit. And just like, okay, well, I guess maybe there's more to it here. But ultimately, kind of what you were just saying, they were fortunate last year, as we know, with injuries. Not too many. Certainly not in the waves like this year. Jaden was healthy, and just the breaks went their way, and that's fine. It's not a negative. That's just things went their way. You got to put yourself in a position to take advantage of it when things go your way. They did last year, and this year everything is just the opposite. And it is only year 2 of this new regime, and you're right. The depth has not only is there lack of historical cohesion, but there's a lack of depth. I think, though, the concern here is, and this is what I think the last 7 games for me is going to be really about, is do these 2 draft classes under Adam Peters show more? We've obviously seen the quarterback, and there's been, moments for some other guys, but I don't know how many of these draft picks we're saying here right now are definitive starters in 2026. And that's where I think this gets a little more concerning, because you need these younger guys to fill in and show they're ready to go. And I don't know that we're there yet. And that's, I think, part of what's going on here.
What did the cat say?
Lenny is Lenny's a believer. He's a believer in Jaden Daniels. He thinks we're fine.
All right.
It's a really good point to think long haul what is here. You know what I mean? Not just, all right, can you finish maybe 4-3 over the last 7 and find some positivity? But, what does this look like 26, 27, 28? But the centerpiece of it all is what's most important. And I think knowing that Jaden's here can mask a lot of deficiencies, but at some point you'd like him to not have to mask deficiencies all the time. This is also, I looked this up. So Washington last season had their bye in week 14. All right? So they had 4 regular season games remaining. The Saints game went down to the last play where they broke up a 2-point winner that would have won it for New Orleans. The Eagles game that they won at home went down to the last minute when Zach Ertz caught that touchdown. The Falcons game went to overtime, and they won on the last play, touchdown throw to Jamison Crowder. That clinched the playoffs. The Cowboys game, they won on the last play of the game, Mariota to Terry. The Tampa game, last play of the game, the doink around the world. I mean, that's 5 in a row, last play of the game.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And I think as it was going on, greatest thing in the world, we were excited. And as Ben stated, he was asking, what happens if that doesn't happen like that? And I think by watching this year, we have to revisit last year and just realize, as great as the record looked, were they that good? Or we were just that lucky?
Yeah, I mean, look, even in the Detroit game, right? I mean, they get all the credit for the win. The Lions turned the ball over 5 times while gaining over 500 yards of offense. It's not too dissimilar to what's happening now, except that teams aren't turning the ball over 5 times. And then simultaneously, Jaden's not throwing downfield missiles to De'Ami Brown and to Terry and all that. So, they're just missing a lot here. I think we talk a lot about the defense, and obviously that's been a huge problem. I think on offense, the first 5 games, even when Jaden was out, they weren't performing poorly, right? Mariota was in there. They put up over 40 against the Raiders. I know the Raiders are not good, but still. And in that Chargers game, that was the best game they played, I think, all around all season.
Yeah.
And you look at that game, right? Bill had 150 yards of total offense. Debo was a monster for most of that game. And then the next week, Debo pops up on the injury report with a heel issue. He's not been the same since, and it felt like at that point it was just too much for the offense that, as we've discussed, they just don't have enough playmakers. Even with with Terry and Debo healthy, even if Bill is running as well as he has at times, they still lack those explosive players. And at receiver in particular, it just became impossible to scare the defense at all down the field. And I think that's just all led to these problems. But again, at least I think the offense, to a degree, has shown enough. It's just that the defense, boy, I mean, it's just to say it's been a mess the last month would be an understatement.
For sure. Talking with our friend Ben Standig on the Rude Guest Hotline. You can follow Benny at Ben Standig. Check out his Substack, Last Man Standig. I want to circle back to something you said early, that you don't like this matchup. You're worried about them losing to the Dolphins. I mean, I can understand it the way the defense has played over the last month, but expand on those thoughts if you can.
Well, I think, for one, I mean, the Dolphins come in here having won 2 of 3, so they're actually, based on results. I mean, they beat the Bills last week. I know the Bills are a little bit more up and down than expected this year, but so what? Miami was being viewed as an easy win, and now they're pulling off some good games. Their defense has improved just statistically in the last few weeks, and then offensively, this is sort of the thing with compared to Washington. At some point, it isn't even about talent on some level. It's like, do you have the athletic capability to scare other teams? And the Dolphins have Jalen Waddle and Devin Achane, two of the faster playmakers in the league. Both had huge games against the Bills. Just sort of get them the ball and let them make plays. Washington does not have that right now capability. And, as much as Tua Tagovailoa gets, ragged on for being having a terrible contract and not being worth it, it's not like he's a garbage quarterback. He can still make plays. It's just the value for what he does is not worth it. And they're obviously also all under the hot seat. They just fired their GM. Is Mike McDaniel going to stay on as coach? So they have plenty to play for. Not saying Washington doesn't, but it's sort of a different deal. So I just fear that Miami is a team coming in here looking at Washington as a bit of a get right game, and they're doing it with the momentum coming off the Bills with these playmakers against the Washington defense that has not stopped anybody. So, that's my fear. If Washington doesn't get turnovers or the breaks don't go their way, this may be another track meet where they're on the wrong end of it.
I wish every player goes back to high school and just think about it. When someone played you in homecoming, they were telling you that you were not good. When people start looking at you as that get-back game, that's them telling you you're not good. And I hope they come out with that level of pissed-off activity and pride. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, this is how you know that
you're right. This is a get-right game. That's why people been looking at our defense. Get right. Get stats.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy how, it wasn't even that long ago. I think before the Kansas City game, I was looking at it like the next four games as if they can go with Washington, go 2-2, and then get some of their guys back after the bye, they could still be in this thing. Then they lose 3 in a row, but automatically the Miami game was viewed as one of the wins. They just had to win one of the other 3. Now, here we are a month later, the Dolphins are favored in the game because Washington's looked so poor and Miami's at least looked a little better. So, yeah, things can change. Maybe it'll change for Washington this week with Dan Quinn taking over as defensive coordinator. Obviously, that's the big unknown variable. If that matters or if that changes things for this team, hopefully for their sake it does, and for our viewing sake it does. That's right now obviously they're in a tough spot.
I kind of like them in this spot. I think Miami is so up and down that they could just have a clunker on Sunday, and I think in a lot of ways, man, I think what Miami did last week against Buffalo was they responded for their coach. Pretty obvious how much pressure's on Mike McDaniel, and he might still get canned at the end of the year anyway. But I think Washington needs to show up for Dan Quinn. We've heard the players week after week say we're a well-prepared team. We just have to execute. Do you think that message gets hammered home a little bit more now that there has been, even though it doesn't rank in the significant changes of someone getting fired, but the fact that Joe Witt has been demoted, DQ has to take more on, that is a pretty major change.
Yeah, I mean, the saying always is you can't fire the players, you can fire the coach. So they didn't fire the coach here, they demoted him. That still puts, now it puts the onus more on the players and to a degree Dan Quinn as well to say, okay, we changed this piece. Now what? You can't, can't put this on the defensive coordinator. I'm not saying that the players were doing that at all, but just saying, from the perception of it all, that was taking place. And now it's going to be on the players. And, I don't know, it's the weirdest thing, seeing game after game, defensive backs run into each other, defensive backs just giving up gobs of yards to receivers, seeing players in the back seven seemingly confused as to where they need to be. If you go back and look at that first Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown catch last week, Jordan McGee is ultimately on him, but he was kind of like moving around all over the place because there seemed to be some confusion. So why is that happening? And does Dan Quinn make that a little bit easier, let them feel more comfortable with what they need to do? Hopefully that happens. But it needs to. I mean, whether they win another game or not, they've got to look a lot better. They've got to be competitive. They can't be down 28-0 before some of the people stuck in traffic into the stadium. So that's the bare minimum. and we'll see if that starts this week against, again, like you said, JP, a Miami team that's, not particularly good this year. They've been playing better lately, but, they have the same record as Washington, 3 wins. This is not a good team, but, so, can you
They've shown better.
This isn't the Lions, this isn't the Seahawks, this isn't the Chiefs. So that excuse goes out, too. So now what do you look like against a team that maybe is closer to your level?
What has, just because we're here, obviously, what has been like the experience at home kind of watching Washington practice here? Like, it's so bizarre. Just generally, when I'm at practice and I tweet out what the coaches say or a video of the players, there's like a ton of interaction. But because it's all happening so early, I feel like this game might be kind of off the radar at home.
Hell, when they wake up, half the day is over.
Right.
To be honest with you.
So I'll be really honest. It's maybe a little too TMI. On what day did they? What is today? Thursday. So on
they left Monday, got here Tuesday morning.
Yeah. So whenever Will Harris was announced that his 21-day practice window was opening, it happened like literally at 4:00 in the morning here time, and I caught it in real time because Mother Nature called and I needed to go do some things. And I looked at my phone and you guys were tweeting that they had just made that announcement. But if I don't wake up at 4 in the morning, I don't see it till several hours later. And yeah, it has kind of flown under the radar because most of the things that are happening are taking place while we're all asleep. And then again, the reality is, unfortunately, no Jaden. It feels like the competitive part of the season has kind of faded off. So I haven't gotten a ton of sense of like people are like super duper excited for this one, other than it's new and it's different. But look, they're going to be there on Sunday. They're going to watch the game. They're going to hope for the best. But yeah, the time difference and the fact that the team is not playing at a good level right now, I think has kind of made this thing far more muted than it would have been otherwise.
I agree. I also think if they were 3-7 and it was Marcus starting and this game was just in Miami, I think it'd be muted also.
Yeah.
I think there will actually be on Sunday more interest. I think you might have more Commanders fans watching on Sunday a pair of 3-7 teams than we would if it was a 1:00 game, because it's 9:30. It's standalone. Just watch it. You know what I mean? Unless you're playing golf or have early kids sports, or maybe you're going to church. Like Sunday at 9:30 is a pretty relaxed time for most folks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. JP, I debated going out to Vegas this week since I to avoid any kind of FOMO perhaps of building up, that I was like, let me go do something, and I was like, man, I got to get up at 6:30 to watch, or be up at 6:30 to watch this thing. That was a little much. 9:30 is fine, but it is that national window, right? I mean, not that they've had plenty of other national TV games here, so this is the new, but that national window, especially in the morning, I feel like that's when people are like, I'm going to wake up for this. You better play good football.
That may become our new national time, bro.
9:30 is not waking up that early, dog.
Well, I mean, for people who do their usual football routine, I mean, you're just plus 9:30 here. I mean,
if it's 9:30, you up and Adam already been. You got to get there by what, 10, 11?
Ben might not be up and at him at 9:30.
Oh, well, look, I'm up and at him, but I'm just saying, if you're a tailgater, 9:30 is early. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I think it's kind of fun. A little coffee golf.
Go out here, beat Miami, and they start putting us on more early morning games.
Yeah, we don't want that.
Do you think this game is going to get flexed? The next game against the Broncos, you think that we get flexed out of that Sunday night spot?
I don't know what Denver has. What, Kansas City this week?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know what. I think this is all on Denver. If Denver keeps winning as they have been for the most part, then maybe this game stays because they are, by record, a legit contender in that conference. Sean Payton, Bo Nix. I don't know if that does enough for a national audience, but there's that. But yeah, Washington's not helping that cause. So I think Denver has to stay on. Otherwise, I don't see how they don't flex it out.
We shall see. All right, buddy. Thank you for the time.
Hi, Ben.
Fellas, enjoy your time over there. Very jealous, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, dude.
Don't sleep past 9.